Hi there, and welcome to Live with the Paper Pixie, episode 376. I'm Julie DiMatteo, the Paper Pixie, coming to you live from Alpharetta, Georgia. Tonight is Wednesday, June 4th, 2025, and if you're watching us live, say hello and where you're watching from. I want to give a special shout out to my Pixie patrons. You'll recognize them in the live chat with a little magic wand icon next to their names. They are channel members here, and we'd love to invite you to join us. If you want to join us in the live chat, just make sure you're logged into your YouTube or Google account. That'll let you chat with us. Totally free to have a Google or YouTube account. And if you're watching us on replay, thank you so much. I've got a fun project for you tonight. It was a vision in my head, and I decided to turn it into an actual box, but it is a Floral Cube Box is what I'm calling it. And it's just a regular lidded box, but I had to decorate the inside. And now that I do that, I think it would be cute to also put paper on the inside of the lid. Maybe we'll do that tonight. So that's what we're creating tonight. Thank you guys so much for accommodating my schedule. We were en route to Atlanta from Ohio last Wednesday. I think we got back around 6 p.m., but I was really glad I didn't have to prepare for a live show, so thank you. I'm back and home for a while. I don't think my next trip is until sometime in September, but I hope you guys are having a wonderful month of June. We've got some fun things that are going on this month, so stay tuned for that in just a moment. Couple of housekeeping things. If you've got a question for me, go ahead and put a Q in front of that question. That will make it into my queue. I save all of the questions during the live stream till the end of the live stream. That way I can focus on demonstrating tonight's project, and then I'll answer all of your questions at the end of the stream. So use a Q and save that for questions. I also want to give a shout out to Susan. Thank you for the super chat ahead of the live stream starting. And I was a couple minutes late. I was still cutting pieces of paper. I do actually have a link to the project sheet already in the video description. I feel like I need to have my head checked because I'm ahead of time. But I already noticed I have a little tweak that I need to make to it, so I will get that updated. What else? When you shop with me, you earn Stampin' Rewards on on orders of $20 or more, the new Stampin' Rewards program. To shop with me, just use my magic shopping link, thepaperpixie.com/shop. That will auto-magically take you to the Stampin' Up! Online store, shopping with me. And you just have two things that you need to do in order to earn Stampin' Rewards. One, create a customer account if you haven't already. And two, make sure that you opt into the absolutely free Stampin' Rewards program. And you'll find that usually when you create a new account, there should be a pop-up that asks you if you want to join Stampin' Rewards. Again, it's totally free, no obligation. You just want to make sure you're signed into your Stampin' Up! Account each time you shop. Then you'll get your Stampin' Rewards. It's 10% of your order subtotal before shipping and taxes that will get added to your Stampin' Rewards account. And what's really cool about Stampin' Rewards is they don't expire for a year. So if you shop this month, the Stampin' Rewards you earn in June will be good until June 30th of 2026. I had to think about what year we were in, and it's already June. It's just flying by. So a couple of things that started this month, actually yesterday, June 3rd, the last chance list got a total refresh. So go ahead and take, well, I say total, a bunch of things were added, new things were added to the last chance list, and then additional discounts were added to items that were already in the last chance category. So make sure you're checking that out while you're shopping. We have a buy one, get one 50% off suite sale. I'm going to take a couple of moments to try to help explain the sale because it's not totally cut and dry and clear and understandable. So Stampin' Up! Offers product suites both in the catalogs as well as online exclusives and even last chance products as well. So any products that are part of a suite, whether that be the entire suite or the individual products within that suite, is buy one, get one 50% off. So the best way to maximize this sale, and I did it myself yesterday, is to group like-priced items together. You may want to place a couple of different orders for different sort of thresholds of products. So for example, when I ordered yesterday, I placed one order for 2 product suites. So I got one of those suites at 50% off. And that's the biggest deal, is if you can get a suite 50% off. So I did that order separately, and then I did a second order for, what did I do? Bundles, I think. And so those were like priced items as well. So the way that the sale works is that if you put multiple items from a product suite into your shopping cart, the lowest priced item gets the half off. That's typically how a BOGO 50% off works, but you want to be careful that you're maximizing that 50% off. I hope that that makes sense. So if you're going to do suites, put 2 suites on an order and you'll get 1 suite 50% off. Then do a second order if you want to do like papers or ribbons or embellishments or even bundles. And just take a look at your shopping cart to make sure you see which item is getting the 50% off, because I definitely want you to maximize your money there. Now, June 3rd was also a pre-order start date for the July online exclusives. So if you want to take a look at those, you can actually join the Stampin' Up family by purchasing a starter kit, and you'll get to add pre-order items to your starter kit. So I always love pre-order months because it's great for demonstrators and people wanting to join Stampin' Up. And then the last thing is 2 new kits dropped yesterday as well, Pop-Up Pals and I forget the name of it, Make a Memory scrapbooking kit. Those both released yesterday as well. So the suite sale goes through June 30th. I always have to think if there's 31 days in the month. June 3rd through 30th is the buy one, get one 50% off suite sale. If you have any questions about maximizing that sale, or if you have questions about what you're adding to your cart, just email me, support@thepaperpixie.com, and I'd be happy to help you, okay? All right, I'm gonna flip the camera. I do have some show and tell from Nolan. Let me grab that really quickly. We're not sure if he's shown you this before or not, but I feel like we may have. But those of you that are new here, this is Nolan's Lego Stitch, and it's very timely because we went and saw the new Stitch movie when we went to go visit Bubba G and family last week. We had so much fun with them. A quick update while you're taking a look at Stitch. This is the girl version of Stitch, but we can just remove the floral piece, and then there's the boy version. I love how Lego does stuff. So we went and saw the Stitch movie. My niece and nephew, my son and daughter, and my brother, the 6 of us went. We gave Anne, my sister-in-law, a break. And then we had a carnival and a breakfast picnic. We went to a parade. We had so much fun. And I drove. Brian stayed home with Kona. He did so well in Disney, so I decided to give him a break from Ohio. Actually, Brian's gone to Ohio with me so many times for Memorial Day weekend. Anyways, we had a really great time. I split the drive up over 2 days. I stayed in Lexington on the way there, and then stayed at my aunt and uncle's on the way back, which was just a wonderful visit as well. We hadn't seen their new place yet in Loveland, Ohio. So it was fun. We made it safely. We had a great time, and I just love my time with Bubba G and family. And I think Bubba G's in the chat. So hi, Gregors. All right, so that's Stitch. And I forgot one more thing. I don't think Nolan made this. This was a classmate that gave it to him, but he's been wearing this necklace. And it reminded me of when I was in middle school. Did you ever have one of those rope bracelets that you put it on, and then once you took a shower, it like shrunk to your wrist? You never wore one of those? Well, I did. I'm asking Brian over here. So that's what this reminds me of, but he's been wearing that too. So it's been fun. All right, that's show and tell. Let's do another recap of the project. So this is a Floral Cube Box is what I'm calling it. It's a generously sized box. It's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I don't have anything specific in mind to fit in the box, but I mean, you can put a handful of things in there. You could probably find a cute candle that fits in there. A scarf, some cool socks maybe. I know I've seen a lot of those fun socks where you can put like a picture of your pet on there. So just be a fun little box to gift. And then I think that the recipient would absolutely put a box like this on display. Now the handle is totally optional. It's just the vision I had in my mind. So that's what we're going to create tonight. And this is using from Online Exclusives. It's the Impressions A Bloom, or the Floral Impressions Suite. I think it's the Impressions A Bloom bundle. But this is included, or the products within this as well as the suite are part of the suite buy one get one 50% off sale. So take a look at that. But I just love the way that these die cuts have details on them. We're gonna have fun putting this little vignette together. I call it a vignette, but that's what it looks like to me. So I love this designer series paper as well. So I'm gonna give you a quick sneaky peek at the project sheet. Again, I goofed, and this one should say 1 piece and this one should say 5. I will fix that. The link will take you to the most updated version, but I'll update that tonight after the live stream. So if you haven't seen my project sheets before, you got 2 pictures of the project, the measurements, a QR code, and this is also hyperlinked as well. If you save these digitally, that takes you right back to this video. You've got templates for reference, and then a list of the Stampin' Up! Supplies. So that's the project sheet, and let's jump into it. Actually, let me show you the Floral Impressions Designer Series paper. We'll do a quick recap of the projects, or the products we're using. So Floral Impressions, I love the colors in this one. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm not going to read off all the colors, but there's a lot of great coordinating colors in there. The ink pad we're using tonight is Misty Moonlight. Here is the Impressions A Bloom bundle, and you'll see I've got a bunch of dies out. We're going to do a bunch of different die cuts tonight. The Sentiment Thanks is what I'm using tonight. And then I also brought in this die cut from Perennial Postage for the sentiment, but you can do whatever die cut or punch you have for a sentiment for this box, or you don't have to do a sentiment at all. It's up to you. Okay. All right. We're going to start with the box base. I think the way I'm going to do this is we're going to score the base and the lid first, and then we'll get to doing some paper surgery and putting our box together, and we'll go in that direction. So we're going to start with an 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 piece of cardstock. This is Misty Moonlight. And I'm going to go ahead and score this guy at 2 3/4 on all 4 sides. So just rotate all the way around 2 3/4. Like so. You're going to have a grid that looks like so. Okay, all of these are 2 3/4 inch squares. And then the lid, let me make sure I can see my measurements, is 6 9/16 by 6 9/16. So that's 1/16 more than 6 1/2. So go to the 6 1/2 and then go over 1 tick mark to 6 9/16. We're going to score this at 7/8 and 1 7/8 on all 4 sides. 7/8, 1 7/8, 7/8, 1 7/8. Mary, Brian's grabbing your question since you didn't put a Q, okay? All right, so 7/8, 1 7/8, like that, okay? I think that's, oh, we do have one more thing to score. Let's do that while we got the scoreboard out. And then I've got a piece of Misty Moonlight that is 3/4 by 4. I'm gonna flip it to the, I say flip it to the back side, so I cut on this side, you just get a nicer finish. I'm flipping it to the back, and we're gonna score it at half of an inch from each side along the long side. This is our little handle piece, so just a little 1/2 inch, like that, okay? All right, let me put the handle to the side. Let's start with the base. And I'm gonna first fold and burnish. My craft room is in such disarray from a crazy month of May, so sometimes I can't find my tools, but we're gonna fold and burnish on all the score lines. And then let me grab my paper snips. I'm gonna bring in the templates. All right, so we're gonna be focusing on this template here. This is the box base. This one that's a little bit more involved is the box lid. So we're gonna be kind of cutting this in a pinwheel. As you know me, I am typically cutting from the back side of the paper, so it's gonna look like I'm cutting opposite. It really doesn't matter. You just wanna make sure that you're going in a pinwheel format. So I am just going to start on the left side because technically it would be the right side. And I'm going to cut up that first vertical score line. I'm cutting right down the score line up to that first horizontal score line like that. Then I'm going to turn it a quarter of a turn and repeat the same thing. Always cutting on the same side of, or I should say the same score line on each side. Turn it a quarter of a turn. Like that, and then one more quarter of a turn. Now, you'll notice, so now you can see they're kind of cut in a pinwheel. See how that's, well, I guess it's going this way. I actually want to remove a little sliver from the end of each of these. That is just to make sure that as the box folds on the inside, the edge, so this edge is not competing with this score line because our box is going to fold on there. So we're just going to cut like a little bit of a sliver off. And this doesn't have to be perfect. You could use your paper trimmer if you prefer. But I'm going to do that to all four of them. Again, I'm just cutting like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch. Just a tiny little sliver. All right, then I'm just going to come in. These are now going to be tabs. They're quite large tabs, but it actually gives the side of the box a little bit of structure. It's almost like double reinforced, but I'm just going to come in. And again, if it's easier for you to use a bigger pair of scissors, because you kind of have a long way to go to cut that sliver off, feel free to use larger scissors. I'm just so used to my paper snips. And then we're just going to work our way around. Actually, it's easier if I'm always cutting on the right side, so I'm just going to flip it over. That. And then this guy, if you need to fold stuff out of the way, go for it. And then this last one, again, it's just always easier for me to cut on the right side. All right. So now you can kind of see that little pinwheel effect there, okay? So that's going to be ready for us to put our designer series paper on. And I'm actually going to wait to do that. Let's kind of stick in the same stage of working on our cardstock first. So now I'm going to bring in the lid piece. Let me move this out of the way. And I'm going to fold and burnish on all the score lines as well. All right, there we go. Now, when I do sort of this pinwheel direction, I always like to do the lid opposite. So if you remember, I cut on the back side. It's just easier for me to see the score lines. If I started on the left on this one, again, I'm on the back, I'm gonna start on the right side. Now, this is gonna be a double, like a reinforced edge box. So I'm actually going to cut up the 2 vertical score lines on the right side, and stopping at the second horizontal score line, like so. Again, I'm cutting right down the middle of the score line. And then I'm going to turn a quarter of a turn, and again, I'm always cutting on the right side so we get this pinwheel effect. Turn around, or turn a quarter of a turn again. And then one more time. Okay, let me move this out of the way. I'm gonna bring the template back in, and now we're focused on this template here, okay? So again, this is gonna look a little bit opposite because I'm cutting on the back side, but the way we're gonna work these corners is the two squares that are to the outside edge, I'm gonna remove both of those and also miter cut. So I've got a little bit of an angle right there. We're removing those two. And then I'm gonna leave this square behind, but I'm gonna cut away this little rectangle. So on each corner, what we're gonna end up is this flap, okay? So I've got this edge mitered. I'm gonna turn it a quarter of a turn. We're gonna miter the tab. So I'm gonna fold this out of the way to isolate that tab. Come in and miter cut. And then I also wanna miter cut right here on this outside section. So on each corner, we're gonna look like this, okay? So turn it a quarter of a turn. Well, actually not yet, because we're gonna remove these two, and then miter cut. Okay, then I'm gonna remove this rectangle. Now turning it a quarter of a turn, focusing on the tab, doing our miter cuts, and then a quick miter cut right here. Like that. Okay, so two corners are done. I'm so used to turning it a quarter of a turn, but I don't have to do that yet. So miter cut and remove those two. Remove the rectangle, leaving the tab behind. Fold that out of the way and miter cut. And then I'm gonna miter cut right here on this edge. And then our last corner again, remove the two and miter cut, making a mess with paper here. Now turn it a quarter of a turn, isolate the tab. And then our last miter cut here. Get this all cleaned up. And now we've got this kind of pinwheel look. Whoops, as I'm off camera, but there you go. And that's the lid, okay? So that's gonna look like this template. All right, now we're gonna bring in our designer series paper. And now when I was showing you the box, I'm gonna go ahead and put designer series paper on the inside of the lid too. So I'll cut a piece for that. But let me grab the DSP. All right, so we have, get these out of the way. 5 pieces, and this is what I need to edit on the project sheet, but I will right after the stream. 5 pieces that measure 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. So I'm gonna start with, let's just pick one of them, and I'm gonna put them on the inside of the box at the box base. Now, when I was doing the sample, I put this in after the box was made. 0 out of 5, I do not recommend. It's so hard to get this back into the base of the box after the box is made. So don't do that. You want to glue that in place before you put the box together. So let's do that now. And this is extra, but it takes the box up a notch. You could also put a little surprise sentiment on the inside. That could be a fun finding for the recipient. So there's that. Now, our remaining 4 pieces, again, that are 2 5/8 inch square, we're gonna put those in all 4 squares. So obviously we're ignoring the pieces that we trimmed and miter cut. like so. Now, if you're using a directional paper, you want to make sure that the top of your pattern is on the edge of the paper and the bottom is towards the middle. So you're going to have to kind of, this is not a directional paper, so it doesn't matter, but you want to make sure that you are kind of dry fitting your pattern to make sure it's going in the right direction. So the top of the pattern should be on the outside edge, okay? I see your question, Linda. I will answer it during Q&A, but no, a gift card will not fit. Okay. I'm just going to kind of rotate it as we do each of these pieces. I served jury duty yesterday. I got my summons a couple weeks ago, and I called, at least, I don't know if they probably do this in many places, but here in Atlanta, you call the night before after 7 to find out if your group is called. And it said, group 1, you must report. Groups 2 through 8, you are dismissed. Well, I was group 1, so we had Brian's dad come to watch the kids because Brian had to go to the office. And I got to the jury assembly room and I was there for about 90 minutes. Of course, I was in the bathroom when they made an announcement. Came into the assembly room again and I heard my name called. I didn't know why my name was called. I just said here and went up to the front counter and they said, you're free to go home. So I guess whatever case I'd been assigned to either settled or was dismissed, and I got dismissed. So I was actually in the car more than I was sitting in the jury assembly room. Anyways, so jury duty served. All right, so we've adhered all of those. Now we're going to go ahead and put the box together. So again, we've got the one piece on the inside of the box and the other 4 pieces on the outside, and those are 2 5/8 of an inch square. So now I'm just going to take my time with the tabs here, and I know this looks like crazy tabs, but we're using all of our cardstock except for the pieces we trimmed off. But that's going to kind of reinforce the edge because the majority of it is going to be a double layer of cardstock. So we are lining up this cut edge here with this score line. So just take your time, oops, and line up that edge or that score line right there with the cut edge. And you'll see that that whole tab, I know it's hard to catch the light, that whole tab is right in there on the box. So it's pretty much double-sided. Again, we've got that little bit that we trimmed off so that doesn't compete with that score line. And then I'm just gonna come in and burnish that down once you get it lined up. Okay, so we're just gonna work our way around. It's funny, Karen, I have gotten so many jury summons since I've moved back to Atlanta in the last, well, actually it's been since I've lived here probably a total of 20 years. And I feel like I've gotten like 10 jury summons, which I feel like is a lot. I've only had to serve on 1 trial. Most of the time I call in the day before and I don't have to report, but I think I've been to the jury assembly room like 2 or 3 times now. And I think it's 3 times total, and 2 times I got dismissed and never had to report, or never was selected for a jury, and just the 1 time I did get selected for a jury. But, all right, again, oops, take your time. There we go. Just kind of reinforcing from the inside. It's quite a bit of, I say square footage, square inches. to adhere. And then this last one's going to be just a little bit tricky, but it's really not bad because paper is pretty forgiving. Just trying to get it tucked in there. Like so. Okay. Now, just have to kind of finagle that cardstock. There we go. To the inside. Just has a little bit further to travel on that last one. There we go. All right, now we'll just burnish that down. And there is the box base. I know it's like ASMR where you can hear that, but it is pretty sturdy edges because the majority of it is a double layer of cardstock. So that's the box base with that cute little DSP in the bottom, okay? So let's put that off to the side. Now we're gonna focus on the lid, and I'm gonna cut one more piece of designer series paper. Let's see. So actually the only thing I need to edit on the project sheet, I'll say 2 pieces that are 2 11/16 by 2 11/16, but I'll bump that one up to 5, okay? Because we needed the one for the inside of the box. And totally up to you. If you don't want all of that DSP, no need to do it, okay? All right. I think this one is already, yeah, that's already 2 11/16. So I go to 2 5/8, and then I go 1 more 16th. The lid itself, if you're wondering why I have the 1/16 of an inch measurements, it is because we had to make the lid itself. So this center section needed an additional 1/16 of an inch to be able to fit over the box base itself, okay? So that's the method to my madness for measurements. So we've got 2 pieces that are 2 11/16 inch square. We're gonna do one on the outside, one on the inside, okay? And then I've got 4 pieces. These measure 7/8 of an inch by 2 11/16. So it's the same width, but it's only 7/8 of an inch. Now, if you have a directional pattern, you want these to be in landscape. Okay, and these are all going to go in these rectangles on the outside. So let's start with the squares first. And it really doesn't matter if you had a directional pattern, which direction you put this. So start with the squares first, and then you'll just need to make sure you know which direction your lid needs to go. We'll get to that when we do the little handle. Whoops, glue dots. All right. So while we were in Ohio, we had a breakfast the morning of Saturday morning. It was in the 40s. So we were all huddled around the campfire trying to stay warm while the kids were running around in the river creek catching crayfish and frogs and tadpoles. The cold weather did not faze them. But by the end, they were huddling around the campfire. So it was fun. I just couldn't believe how cold it was, especially coming back from Orlando when it was in the 90s. But that's Ohio for you in May. It could be in the 80s. It could be in the 40s. Sometimes there's snow. You just never know in Ohio. All right, so that's the inside and the outside. Now with our pieces, again, with a directional pattern, you want it landscape, but this time you want the top of the pattern to be towards the center, because again, this is the lid. So if you kind of dry fit it and pay attention, the top of your pattern should be here and the bottom there towards the center. So your top of the pattern towards the center. There we go. And if directions get you all twisted, just use a non-directional paper like I did tonight. Then it doesn't matter which way you cut it or place it. It was 89 in Ohio today, Darlene. That's more like it. I will say it was quite pleasant for the parade on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. We weren't hot The sun came out. It wasn't in the 40s. We always look forward to our time in Ohio. Every year. Next year is my 30th high school reunion. So I'll definitely be going back for that since I'm the reunion coordinator. I have to move my desk pad, hold on, or the floor mat. All right, so now we've done all of that. We've got our piece inside. Again, this is extra. Now we're gonna work on the tabs. So I'm just gonna pick one. Again, we're gonna line up the score line here with the cut edge here. Just line those edges up there to make a nice corner. You guys know what's so cool is so many in my audience are in Ohio. I feel like it's just the universe brings us all together, us Ohioans. Now I'm a Georgian, but born and raised Ohioan. All right. We did get to go to Buc-ee's on the way back from Ohio, and we so on our way back from Orlando, we did stop at Buc-ee's on the way back. It was bonkers. Like, we got halfway into Buc-ee's. We'd never been to Buc-ee's before. It's always been on it's been on my list. It's not been on Brian's list. We got halfway into the store and it was so busy. We turned around and left and went up a couple of exits. But when I was with the kids, we stopped and it was quite pleasant. There was no line for the bathroom. I got gas. We got beaver nuggets and beef jerky, and the kids got Buc-ee's keychains. So it was a successful Buc-ee's run. But now that I've been to Buc-ee's and have talked about it, of course, all of my social media has all kinds of Buc-ee's like videos, and there's things I have to go back and get on my next road trip. Like the pickled asparagus looks so good. I'm not sure I could do the pickled quail eggs. But anyways, I love the beaver nuggets. They're so good. Okay, so I'm folding. We've got all those tabs are folded in now. Now we're going to focus on the edges. Now, if you prefer to use tear and tape or another type of adhesive, go for it. I'm going to use liquid glue. So I'm just going to put liquid glue on the back side of the flaps. I'm just going to do one at a time. And I'm just folding that into the box. Oh, that's awesome, Christina. Ohio to Georgia for you too. Ohio does not have 2 different time zones. Oh, look at me already answering the chat. Brian's like, no. I'll answer it again. All right, so we're folding those in, and because we did, see if I can catch the light a little bit. Because we did 7/8 of an inch, these flaps are closing in, but not competing with the bottom. So it's just a little measurement magic there. That's 100% right, Sally. Wait 5 minutes and it'll change. Now you may be wondering why I did an opposite pinwheel effect with the lid, and I'll show you when we line them up. Because of the way the lid fits, the seams will be in the same spot. So there we go. There's our last flap. And this just gives the lid a really nice finish. I'm going to come in and just with my bone folder burnish, give that liquid glue a little bit of time to adhere. And there is our lid. Love that so much. Okay, now this is the point where if you have a directional pattern, we need to pay attention to where the top and the bottom of your pattern is for our little handle. Now, if you remember, this was 3/4 of an inch by 4. I added a little score line at the 1/2 inch mark. I'm just gonna fold that back on itself. Actually, what I probably need to do is just do a little bit of curling of my cardstock. Now, I think I gave you guys this tip a couple weeks ago, but I'm gonna share it one more time. That's the wrong paper. When you're trying to determine which direction the paper fibers go, I'll take a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 and just kind of bend it to figure out, this one's gonna give me, let's see. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit less resistance this way than I feel this way. And it's hard to demonstrate on camera, but since this is bending easier, I would want to cut my strip this direction. So perpendicular to the easier bend, you're going to cut a strip. And that's just going to make sure that the paper fibers are going in the right direction. So you get a nice smooth handle. So again, just kind of play with your cardstock and bend it, and whichever one gives you the least resistance to give you a bend, see this one's so much easier, you're gonna cut. It's just like if you're cutting a piece of steak, the grain is going in the direction that it's easier to bend, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Always kind of hard to demonstrate on camera. But even if you cut it wrong the first time, you can just cut another piece and you'll notice the difference. But see, we've got a little inchworm going there. So let's pretend that this is the top of my pattern. We're gonna go ahead and adhere our handle like so that your pattern's going the right way. So I'm gonna start with the left side and just gonna put liquid glue. And I like to kind of turn it 1/4 of a turn so that I can eyeball the center point. You could use a ruler if you want to, but I'm just going right up to the edge of the designer series paper, not the edge of the box. See that? I'm going right up to that edge and then just making sure that that's adhered. And then we're going to do the opposite side. And then same thing, eyeball it in the center and slide it up to the edge of the DSP or the patterned paper. And I love the liquid glue because it gives you time to slide that right into place. I may have done a little too much glue. It's still slip sliding around. I've got my fingers on the back side and the front side and just kind of holding that into place while that adheres. So cute. Isn't that so cute? I love this little handle. Again, totally optional. And then we can go ahead and put that on our box. It's going to be a snug fit. So the box base, unless you've got something really heavy in there, it's going to kind of hold on to that base pretty nicely because that 1/16 of an inch is just enough space for the lid. But isn't that such a nice box? Great way to give a gift to somebody. So why don't we go ahead and decorate it? I'm going to put this off to the side and we're going to do a little bit of die cutting. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to start with a couple of scraps of paper. Forgive me, I got to cut some scraps really quickly. All right, so the colors we're using are Fresh Freesia, Crushed Curry, Old Olive, and Pool Party. And also Misty Moonlight. Gonna grab one of those too. Okay, I'm gonna just cut up, let's see, let me look at my sample here. All right, so these are, here's my little magnetic bowl. Let's get all the die cut pieces out. I love the way the Impressions of Bloom, or Floral, hold on a second. Yeah, Impressions of Bloom dies work. They've got both a cutting piece and a texture piece. I have a couple of extra dies in here, but look at all these pieces. I couldn't stop once I started with this set. So we're gonna start with the bigger die. Let me just cut a piece. We're gonna try to cut as much as we can at once. So there's that one. And it's gonna go with that guy. Then this guy. I'm just cutting pieces to size for now so we can get everything on the die cutting thing. And green, I already have a piece for those. So that's those guys. And then Just gonna do a tiny piece of crushed curry. And a tiny piece of fresh freesia. All right, let's build this. Okay, I'm gonna be using my Anna Griffin Empress Mini die cutting machine. And let's just load up our dies here. This is a magnetic mat. And I'm gonna line up, whoops, this way, the texture die. See how cool that layers together? Now, one of my tips here is to move the outside piece instead of trying to move the inside piece. It's just much easier that way. Then we've got our pool party. And sometimes it's fun to figure out. This one reminds me of like a COVID bacteria, the way that it's got its little spikes. So again, I'm shifting the outside so that's lined up. Then we've got our fresh freesia. That's the smaller flower. Just get it in the center and then shift the outside piece, just so you've got kind of equidistant space. That looks pretty good. And then crushed curry. Little texture piece there. This one is like the tiniest little die. All right. Again, I'm just shifting the outside piece. And then our two leaves, which are the easiest. Like that. Okay, let me get my machine up here. Try not to shift anything. There we go. One of them shifted, but that's okay. Bring that back in a second once we stamp. But look at how cool these dies are gonna look. Or I should say these die cuts. Look at this. Oh my gosh. I love this set of dies so much. It is so cool, the texture that the texture dies give these. This one will be a little cattywampus, but it still looks amazing. Get my tweezers here. The leaves are so cool with their texture. So we got two of those. And then we really only need two of the centers because the way that I've set up the blue, I have a yellow center underneath there, but you can't see it. So you really only need to cut two of them. And again, you can lay your flowers any way you'd like. But look at the texture on these. So cute. All right, I don't want to lose my dies. They're all going back in the bowl until I can put them away. All right. That. And let's do a little bit of stamping. Just got a scrap piece of paper here that I was using. All right, so Misty Moonlight and the word thanks. There we go. And then we'll die cut the center, and then we'll have some fun putting this together. That. One of these days I'll clear off my desktop and there'll be space for my die cutting machine. Between the incentive trip and product shares and Ohio, madness in the DiMatteo household. Add jury duty to the list. All right. I love that die cut piece from the postage dies. All right, now the last thing we're gonna do is I wanted something to kind of stick this whole grouping of flowers to. And it was a circle punch, which is right behind me. So a 1 3/4 inch circle punch I'm using just as kind of the base to adhere all the flowers to, and then we'll stick it right onto the box. And I've got a trick for sticking it on the box. So let's go ahead and put our yellow centers on first, onto the Misty Moonlight and then the Fresh Freesia pieces. I like to use my reverse tweezers for more delicate stuff like this, and I can place it right where I want it. And again, I'm just putting the glue in the center and then bringing the center to the flower. Gives me a little bit more control. All right, so we've got all the pieces and parts. I'm gonna kind of cheat a little bit and look at what I've already done. I'm gonna start by putting the Misty Moonlight flower in the upper left. And this you can just kind of play around and have fun with placement. We're gonna do that. Okay, and then what I think I'm gonna do is this guy I'm gonna pop down here. I'm gonna kind of picture where I'm gonna put the thanks. Like that. This flower is gonna kind of come down over the top, and then we're gonna fill in some of the white gaps with the 2 old olive leaves. So put a little bit of glue here. Like that. The thanks. We'll kind of put like so. And all of this I'm just gluing down with liquid glue. We'll use dimensionals when we add it to the box. That looks good there. And then the leaves, just gonna put a little bit of glue here and kind of tuck that up underneath. We've got a little bit of white peeking through, but that's okay. So we'll do that there. And then this guy, I'm gonna kind of tuck it. I'm keeping everything in front of that white circle. So like that, okay? And if you wanted to, you could add another, maybe I'll die cut. No, I'm gonna leave it the way it is. I'm not gonna fuss with it too much. All right, so now let's bring in the box, and I'm gonna use dimensionals. So the trick with making sure that this does not get in the way of the lid is we're gonna put dimensionals on the box and then stick this whole piece to the dimensionals. So the dimensionals, we're gonna just do 3 of them. And I'm gonna do 1 kind of down here and 1 like that. So a little trio, but see how the dimensionals are just below where the lid is. So that way, when the lid comes on and off, the dimensionals aren't going to be in the way. So now I probably will add another green leaf to block that white spot, that white space. Actually, let's do this. That looks good right there. So the dimensionals you'll see are popping that out just enough that we can take this lid on and off without it interfering with the flowers. You can use the little handle to take it off, like so. Now, we just need one more thing, don't we? We need a rhinestone. So I use my Take Your Pick tool, We'll grab a medium rhinestone and pop it off here to the upper left corner of thanks. So there we have our Floral Cube Gift Box. Great for gifting to a friend or loved one. So there we go. I love it. And I actually love the paper on the lid. So that was a nice addition there. So I'll update the project sheet. Again, the only change, at least that I can tell, that I need to make is to change that to 5 pieces, the 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. Okay, so I'll update that after the stream. That is tonight's project. You can come back to this video and watch the replay at any point in time. I will add timestamps so you can jump right to the project demonstration and skip the countdown timer and the introduction and all of that stuff. You can come back to this video as often as you like. You can also change the speed if you need to slow it down or speed it up. You can pause, rewind. That is the beauty of video. So there we go. Quick reminder, if you've got a question for me, go ahead and put a Q in front of your question, and I'm about 15 or 20 seconds ahead of you. So if for some reason I miss your question at the tail end, just email me at support@thepaperpixie.com. Also, don't forget, in the video description is a link to this project sheet. You can grab that for free. And if you're on my email list, you'll get that email tomorrow with the project sheet. All right. Let's go to this scene, and we are starting with Christina. So Christina, my Pixie Perks program actually retired on April 15th when the new Stampin' Rewards program launched. So my Pixie Perks program historically was a way for me to give back the Stampin' Rewards that I earned on customer orders back to my customers. Now Stampin' Up is doing all the work. So I no longer have the Pixie Perks program. If you had existing Pixie Perks with me that you haven't redeemed, you should have gotten a bunch of emails back in April about that. You can always email me and ask me about it. I am honoring expiration dates with Pixie Perks, so those expire after a year from earned. But email me if you have any questions. But yes, the rewards program is now done by Stampin' Up with Stampin' Rewards. Just 2 things you need to have is a Stampin' Up customer account, and you have to opt into the Stampin' Rewards program. So as long as you're logged into your account and you've opted into Stampin' Rewards, you'll earn 10% back in Stampin' Rewards on every order of $20 or more. It's an amazing program. You can save up your rewards. You can use them as much as you earn them. I've got customers kind of doing both, some saving them, some using them on future orders. It's a great program. I also have the ability to gift rewards, which is super fun. And rewards earned on orders are good for 12 months, and rewards gifted are good for 3 months. So let me know if you have any other questions about that. Okay, so here's the tip or trick about placing 2 separate orders. As long as your orders are $73 or more before shipping and tax, it's just going to be the 11% shipping cost. So whether you split that into 2 orders or 1 order, you're going to pay the same amount in shipping. It really works best when your 2 orders are $73 or more, because that's right when that 11% kicks in versus the $7.95 minimum. So hopefully that makes sense. But that's the way that works. As long as you're reaching that $73 threshold, you're going to be at the 11% shipping rate. So you're going to pay the same amount in shipping if you split that amongst 2 orders. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't have any plans to do a 4th of July box, but I typically don't come up with boxes until a day or 2, or sometimes the same day of my live stream. So maybe I will do a 4th of July, but you could easily adapt this one with different colors to be a 4th of July box. And actually these flowers, the ones that are more spiky, like the pool party one, you could actually make those look a little bit like fireworks. That would be super cute. Yep, no gift card will fit because it's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Gift cards are 3 3/8 in height, so this isn't tall enough. Sorry. I do not have a system for storing all the pretty boxes I make. I try to give them away, although I have a backlog since I haven't been blogging in case I need to take more pictures. But I do try to give them away when I make them. So I don't know off the top of my head, Judy, when the washi tape is going to be back in stock, but somebody may have already answered you in the chat. Ohio has one time zone and it's Eastern, so that does not have two time zones. The time zone starts to change going to Indiana, and then Indiana is the one that's, I forget, parts of it observes daylight savings and parts of it doesn't, but Ohio is just Eastern time zone. This is a good question, Kathy. What made me decide to make boxes instead of cards? I do make cards, so not instead of cards, but I absolutely love the analysis and figuring out boxes. That's just the way my analytical mind works. That's why I love fun folds as well. I just love kind of the mechanics of 3D projects and figuring out how they go together, the measurements, the mechanics. It's just, it fuels my brain and my creativity, and I love sharing that with my audience. So the flower die set is Impressions Abloom. And actually it is part of the Sweet sale, the buy one, get one 50% off. So, sweets and sweet products are buy one, get one 50% off. So at the beginning, Carol, I gave a little bit of an explanation of the best way to maximize that sale. You kind of want to group like priced products together in order to get the biggest bang for your buck with the 50% off item. The box and the lid do not come from one sheet of paper, Nadine. You actually will need 2 pieces of paper. The box base itself uses 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So you'll need not a full sheet, but the majority of a sheet. So if anyone is in the UK, I know Nadine, you're not, but UK folks should be able to make this box as well, because it's 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. I think A4 goes up to 8 1/4. All right. We have reached the end of the questions, believe it or not. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week. Don't forget, all you need are stamps, ink, and a little paper pixie. Check out the Last Chance products sale that got refreshed yesterday. New kits released yesterday. And we have our amazing sweet sale, buy one, get one 50% off on all sweets and sweet products. Take a look at your shopping cart and make sure to maximize that buy one, get one 50% off item. Split your orders if you need to. There's a couple of unique ways to do that. I had fun doing that with my orders yesterday. So again, you can find the free project sheet for this tutorial in the video description. I will also pin it to the first comment. And if you're on my email list, you're going to get that emailed to your inbox tomorrow. So I'd love to have you join my email list. You can get a free shadow box worksheet from me as a thank you for joining my email list. That link is in the video description as well. I think that's the scoop. We're going to be live again next Wednesday. That will be Wednesday, June 11th, right? 4 + 7. That's going to be episode 377, I believe. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed week. And here is a special shout out to my Pixie patrons in the credits. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. Take good care. Bye.